Hi, Tricia Morris here at Club Scrap with the Kids Rule Remix Page Kit. Now, make sure you're working with the Remix Kit. If it doesn't say Remix at the top of the instructions, and if it wasn't released in 2023, you need to find the other video, and usually you can just search the special releases area of the instructions tab on our website. So just want to avoid any confusion. This kit is very similar to the original, which was incredibly popular. So again, this is the 2023 version of Kids Rule. This just celebrates the teens, preteens, and kids in your life. And we just love this collection. I'm going to set aside the ribbon and other goodies that came in the box and just isolate out the paper here. And then I also have my Accordion Pocket File to help me stay organized. So we'll just be filing into one of 4 pockets, each representing the 4 double page spreads we'll be preparing for. If you don't have this, don't let that stop you. Just keep 4 piles, maybe label them 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8. Okay, what I like to do first is sort the paper in the order that will trim it. So let's go ahead and do that. I like to hold the paper upright so I can sift through it a little more easily. And the first piece I want you to find will be this confetti or dotty print. Just take one of those and put it face down on your trimmer base. Speaking of, I'm using my Fiskars trimmer. Then you've got a block print here. Put that face down. Now find 2 sheets of the yellow. 2 yellow. 1, 2. That should be both of them, right? You have 2 total in the kit. Then 1 red is next. And then we have just a blue. Now there are 2 shades of blue in here, in my opinion. We're gonna call that lighter one aqua, and then we'll call the darker one blue. So just grab 1 sheet of the blue. Then 2 aqua. And now from the back of the stack, let's find your Cutaparts. Let's see, the first one I'll have you trim is the one with the border strips on it, and then put that face down. And the second one I'll have you trimmed has like this big blue block on it that says "You're amazing." Next, take the other block print face down, followed by the remaining blue. Next, reach for 2 black plain. Then the 2 white plain. Now this has a linen-like texture on one side and it's smooth on the other. So I'll put it linen side down. And then our last will be the remaining confetti print and then the remaining red print. Now I feel like there's a texture really prominently on both sides. If one feels a little more defined than the other, put the texture side down, so that now when we lift all of this right back up again, that confetti print is on top and all the pieces are in the order that we'll be using them. Take the confetti print. It doesn't matter how it goes in the trimmer. It's pretty universal. And we're gonna cut this at 9 inches. Now when you do that, just make sure your paper is resting against the top ridge here. Ignore that top row of centimeters. We'll use the inches and find that whole number of 9. Before you slice, just make sure you push down on the clear bar and then you can cut. Then move down to 6. So this larger piece, we're going to place that on the bottom of our pile here because it's kind of big and it just trust me, just put it on the bottom of your stack of papers. That I usually keep it to the left of the trimmer. Then you have these 2 other narrower strips. We're going to put those in pocket 5 and 6. And when you do that, just do it at an angle so that you can still see all the numbers on the left side of your accordion pocket file. Okay, now we're gonna go to the block print, and if you wanna be like me, it doesn't matter, but you can place it into the trimmer with the blue on the bottom. I'll cut at 8, so another nice whole number for you here while we warm up. And then 5. Place the 5-inch piece that you just created plus the narrower one that fell to the right. Both of those should go in pocket 3 and 4, again at that angle. And then the last one in pocket 7 and 8. And the reason those pockets have 2 numbers is because it's for 2 layouts at a time. Moving on to page 2 of our instructions, take 1 sheet of the yellow. Be mindful that there are 2 there. So we only want you to cut 1 at a time. We'll trim at 6. Gee, I'm going real easy on you here with these whole numbers. And then rotate, so you're horizontal, and trim at 8 and 4. Okay, so now we have a series of 3 pieces of the same size. Let's file those in pocket 1 and 2. And then this other piece we're going to trim into 3 pieces of the same size, but a little bit smaller, okay? So let's go ahead and start at 11 1/4, 7 1/2, 3 3/4. Now that's going to give us 3 more pieces, but they're just going to be a little bit narrower. And those go in pocket 5 and 6, along with that little piece that fell off the end. We'll use that in 5 and 6 also. Now the next sheet of yellow, let's trim at 10 1/2. So 10, and I should have maybe mentioned this before, but if you're newer to measuring, because I know sometimes we just don't do that until later in life, and that's okay. But we have to go left of the 10 to make it 10 1/2, okay? Halfway between 10 and 11. What's nice on this trimmer is that each vertical column represents 1/4 of an inch. So I'm just going 2 columns to the left of the 10. All right, then 6 1/4. So again, 6 go left, 1 vertical column to find 1/4. Now rotate, we'll cut at 8 1/2, 4 1/4. Stack up the 2 rectangles you just made. Those are going to be the same size. Place in 7 and 8. Then the smaller strip we'll cut at 6 and 3. 2 rectangles here go in pocket 5 and 6. And I regret to inform you that this little piece here is a scrap. You can just set that aside. Now I'll take this next strip to the right of the blade here. We'll cut at 11 3/4, then 9, 6 3/4, 4 1/2, 2 1/4. So you made some rectangles here. The one that's in the base of your trimmer, put it in pocket 1 and 2. The next one, 5 and 6. The next 2, and this wider one, so like the remaining pieces, 7 and 8. And yes, there was a little tiny piece left over. That gets set aside. And then this long remaining strip here, 5 and 6. Okay, now we have red, 1 sheet, trim at a really big number to create a really tiny piece. 11 3/4, 11 1/2, another little tiny piece. And again, really important to stabilize here on this clear bar. And then 6. I'll have you rotate the 6-inch piece. We'll cut horizontally at 8 and 4. We've done that before. Gather up the 3 rectangles, pocket 3 and 4. And we're going to do something similar to what we did before with this piece as well. So we'll trim at 11 1/4, 7 1/2, 3 3/4. And again, you've got 3 pieces the same size, heading for pockets 7 and 8. Now I do have this little piece here. We are actually going to trim that at 4 1/4, believe it or not. Now, do you see what happens is I'm so far away from the inches, I can bring this down, level with that line beneath my inch markings, 4 1/4, and 3. Believe it or not, this larger piece is the scrap. And I use these 2 little pieces here, I'll just quick show you, as a anchoring device for the little charms. You don't have to find those charms right now. I'm just telling you that there was a reason for those cuts, and they're going to be providing a base for those charms in order to draw the eye to that little feature. So one of them, pocket 1 and 2, the other in 7 and 8. Then you have your 2 really, really skinny strips heading for 7 and 8 again. Okay, now the blue, we'll make a series of strips here, a little wider though this time. Our first cut now is at 11 1/4. 11 1/4, so that's 1 column to the left of the 11. Then 10 1/2, 9 1/4, 8, and 4. Rotate this 4x12 and we'll cut at 8 and 4. Just make some squares here. Take all 3 of the squares and place in pocket 3 and 4. And next, the next strip, this is another 4x12. This time we'll cut at 9 and 4.5. Take the two larger pieces, those go in 3 and 4. And then you've got a smaller rectangle for 7 and 8. Of the remaining strips, 2 that are wider go in 5 and 6. And the 2 that are narrower are in 3 and 4. Next color is going to be 1 sheet of the aqua. Remember, you have 2 there. This has never happened before where someone accidentally cut 2 pieces, but I just want to make sure that, right? Make sure you have 1. Okay, our first number is at 10.5. 6 1/4. We're going to perform a really common trim to create 3 photo mats out of this sheet. So rotate and cut at 8.5 and 4 1/4. What that gave us, all that trimming, we have 2 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. It's really nice because that will mat a 4x6 photo perfectly. Let's put these in 5 and 6. And then we have this, I always have this little scrap off the end. If I were to cut it in half or just leave it as is, I don't know, I like to make 2 little rectangles out of this to add size variety. So I'm going to trim at 6 and 3 to create 2 rectangles the same size. And then I'm going to use these in pockets 7 and 8. And you do have a tiny little scrap again. And then this next strip, I can trim at 6 1/4. And that gives me my third mat for pocket 5 and 6. And then this other slightly shorter one that goes in 7 and 8. And then this strip 5 and 6. Nothing left after that. The other aqua, we're going to make a really tiny strip and cut at 11 3/4, 9, 6 1/4. And we're going to repeat that move to make some photo mats. So rotate so it's horizontal, cut at 8.5 and 4 1/4. 2 rectangles for pocket 1 and 2. Let's do our little trick here to make our 2 rectangles. So trim at 6 on that littler piece and 3. This rectangle, 1 and 2, and the other 7 and 8. And once again, there's a little scrap there. The next strip, this currently is 2 3/4 by 12. There are 2 of them, so we're just going to trim 1. We'll cut at 11. We're going to make a series of squares here. 11, 8 1/4, 5 1/2, 2 3/4. Gather up the squares, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Place in pocket 1 and 2. And then, believe it or not, this little rectangle, we're going to cut it at 2 1/2. And that's used in pocket 7 and 8. I know it's a little crazy, but there's a reason for every cut. And yes, there was a scrap there. Sorry. This wide strip, 3 and 4, as is. And then this little guy, 1 and 2. After arriving here at our Cutaparts, just want to mention you need to cut around the outside edges to turn this into a perfect 12 by 12. So do you see that little plus sign there? Just cut along that plus sign on all 4 sides in order to just remove that excess. And one of the reasons we have you do this last step is because at the manufacturing place where they print and trim all this, there was some slippage that would occur once in a while, and then I'd have too much paper on one side of the sheet and not enough on the other. So I just want to make sure we get off on the best foot possible with the Cutaparts. So we just have to do this little step of prep. Get rid of all of the pieces that fell off the end. And let's just rotate again so that these little flags are on the right, so that when you place it at 10 1/2, the blade is right in between that piece of art there. So 10 1/2, 9, allow those papers to pile up, 8 1/2, 8, 5.5, and 3. This large piece here, pocket 1 and 2. Then if you like, you can pick up everything like in one swoop. I like to do that. And this more play, that's 3 and 4 along with a little balloon border. So 3 and 4. 2 little dotty strips, also 3 and 4. Both flags, 1 and 2. Now we have a second sheet of Cutaparts. These are going to be smaller images, and what I want you to do is once again remove the edges. And just as a tip, I like to remove on the generous side, or like not quite to the line on the first cut, because then when I rotate I can see the blade both at the top, little hash mark, and at the bottom corner here. And you'll know what I mean when you're using this kind of a trimmer. Hopefully you have our Fiskars guillotine. It's not just any Fiskars guillotine, it's my favorite. It's the one you really want to have. Okay, let's see. We want to have those narrow strips on the right. We'll begin at 11, then 10, 7 3/4, and 4. Rotate so that Live a Colorful Life is at the right, and we'll trim at 10.5, 8.5, and 6. This large one goes in pocket 5 and 6, and then the next 2, Why Fit In and Dream a Little Dream, both 7 and 8. Live a Colorful Life, 5 and 6. Grab the next strip. Make sure Let Your Light Shine is on the right. 11 1/4, 7.5, and then if you have a pair of scissors handy, this cupcake, so you can just do like a rough cut of the cupcake. That's going to go in pocket 1 and 2. And then you've got some candles and balloons. All of those go in pocket, let's see, 3 and 4. So I'm just going to remove these blocks. So you got balloons and candles, 3 and 4. Blocks, 7 and 8. We have, if you were a crayon, you'd be my favorite color, 3 and 4. And Let Your Light Shine, 5 and 6. This one last strip will mean the end of trimming. So our first cut here is 11 1/4, 7.5, 3 3/4. I'll show you my little tag making trick. Do you see that there are angles on the top of this artwork? I'm going to just kind of eyeball this, and I can use my blade to clip those corners. I usually close an eye, and I try to match the distance between the artwork and the edge on the same one here. It's probably not perfect, but it's pretty close. So you can do that with anything that has a tag like this. So the one with the blocks on it, that's 5 and 6. The one with the crayons, 1 and 2. And then the one with the sentiment, 7 and 8. And then the You've Got This also, 7 and 8. Finally, 2 printed stripes here, 5 and 6. And that is the end of your trimming process. That's the bulk of the work, honestly, other than just like sticking everything down. I'm going to get rid of my trimmer. And then you can set the Accordion Pocket File on its back. Don't try to keep it upright because it's the trimmer really that holds it up. And then I will also have you turn in your instructions to the very, very last page. Or if you're like looking at your tablet or something, just scroll to the bottom. This is page 5, and we're going to look at 7 and 8. And as we assemble these pages, we'll do so from layout 8 to layout 1, so that you can go back then and adhere everything down, knowing it's all planned out and everything in its place. I just want to happily point out that from the entire collection of paper in this whole kit, these are the scraps that you will be left with. Not bad. You could probably find a home for them. Well, maybe not this one, but you know, you can't feel bad about that, right? Okay, so I still have this stack of unused papers. They've been sorted to help us just easily fly through this. So take the entire stack and take the top sheet from the stack and move it to your right, slide it to your right. And I turned it also because basically I'm going from this solid blue to the blue and then graduating over to red here on this double page spread. And if you look at layout 7 and 8, you can see that the blue is on the left and then that dot print, or the block print rather, is on the right. You know what this looks like, but I just don't want to infringe on any copyright or something by saying what it looks like, okay? Those toys that are designed to be stepped on in the middle of the night. All right, we've got everything emptying now from pocket 7 and 8 to correspond with the layout number. Now across this left edge here, and I can do with the red on this side, blue on this side if you want, however you want to do it. You can rotate any way you wish. And then above and below this wide strip, I'm going to place those narrow, I call them paper ribbons, and they're pretty close to the top edge here, but not touching. We have a little bit of that blue shining through. Then you can take two of these larger yellow mats, and I like to tilt them like so. And then you got two smaller, that aqua color, those can go right here. And another smaller size aqua you can place here. And you have this remaining larger aqua. Along the right edge, we'll have 3 horizontal. And what made this work is that we made these 3 3/4 inches high. If we'd made them 4 inches high, there would be no space between them, but here I can do like a film strip style placement. Really like that. Then you have a skinnier yellow that should nest with Dream a Little Dream. Above this, you'll have the blue, and that carries over the blue from the other side. You've got a wider piece of yellow that should accommodate the Y fit in when you were born to stand out. I'll place that over to my left here. And then in your goodies, there will be a black envelope, and this yellow strip should fit inside. I used a corner chomper on the 1/4 inch setting. So when you find that 1/4 inch on the side, you just open the wings, and then I clipped the corners of my little tag, okay? And then this piece will nest perfectly onto the outside of the little pocket. And then if you want to use this with your page, you know, if you really want to use this real estate here for something, you can cut a little slot in your page protector. You would cut it right here, right at the top of the envelope, so that this can be grabbed and pulled out. Sometimes I just use it because it looks cute, I admit. Now, remember this really little guy? We made him nest the You've Got This. I've added some ribbon to it on the left. You can fussy cut these blocks with scissors. And this guy, actually, I didn't use it for the star. I used it over here. Now, remember those little adorable Legos? Take the blue one and you can separate them into 2 pieces quite easily. I forgot I used it for this. And then the other half I hung over here. And I also added one of the white star-shaped tags to the top left corner of my page title. I hid the whole of the tag behind the yellow. That's just the components in the pocket. Let's talk about finishing touches while we look at my finished page sample. Here I've got my row, and I always use my grid ruler to help me make sure they're level and evenly spaced. So yeah, that works really well, as you can see. Here, I've stapled blue ribbon to the top of my tag after I clipped the corners, and I stapled red to this one. Then, you know, this is perfectly houses our Lego, which I used bookbinding glue to secure. Same with this, bookbinding glue to attach the nested star charm after I tied a little bit of that twine, the yellow and white twine, to the star. On the left side, I hung the Lego. It's a fake hang because it's still adhered with the twine, a loop of it, right? And just like a luggage tag. And then, you know, had this kind of over the corner here, and then added my star. For best results, to attach these little strips, I usually use my bookbinding glue from the needle tip applicator as well. some a double ribbon stapled, and then these little blocks were attached with my foam adhesive to give them a little bit of pop on that lower left corner. To continue on to our dry fitting for the next page, I might just move my bulky items because I do want this to stack. So I'll pick up the blue only, right? Slide it on over on top of layout 8, then take the one sheet of black, slide that on top, and now I have the base for my next 2 pages. So you wanted to get your accordion pocket file, grab everything out of pocket 5 and 6. I do like to distribute the pieces from my hands if possible because it's just a little easier to sort things out rather than trying to pick things up off the tabletop. And let's begin by placing one of the 3-inch strips flush with the right edge of the layout here. I guess I had a little, maybe a 1/16 of an inch or something, or an 1/8 inch reveal of the black. Now beneath that, take this yellow strip on the left, nest it with blue, and then there should be one of these little cut-aparts that fits right in there. Now on the right side, you're gonna go with aqua and blue. This is so fun and colorful. Okay, now along this left edge of the right side, we're gonna, again, line up the equally spaced 3 3/4 inch high mat so we can have a nice frame around each one. And then we'll take this larger blue and it should nest, or rather that's aqua. It's gonna nest with this cut apart perfectly. And now again, we have the situation where we have this skinny little yellow, and you can round the corners on whichever setting you prefer, slide it into the bag, and top it with the journaling prompt. That's gonna go up here. So this needs to go down a little. Okay. Now on the left, the 2, again, I did a tilt here. And then you have the remaining yellow. Now these are a little big for the space, so they're gonna go into this border. On this, let your light shine, you'll cut along the straight edge. You'll completely remove this from that little border. It'll fit right on here, and then you can do a little angle cut to match, and that's gonna be placed kind of right in this area. I used 2 of the star tags with some of the twine, and then I also added my yellow Lego, separated once again because I just wanted it to be a little bit more flat. I threaded it with some blue ribbon to place one here and here, almost like a tag. Stapled some ribbon to this for that spot. So I'm gonna remove these and I'm gonna show you my finished pages with everything in place. Oh, I did use a slot punch here and threaded it with some of the blue satin. And then I have the same thing, slot punch with the red cotton here. So pretty. A big loop of the blue satin going through the little block here. And in this case, I only clipped the corners of the cut apart. I think it gives it the feeling of the corners being slid under the photo mat behind it. So it's up to you how you want to handle that. You could clip the corners of the mat as well. On the facing page, this has been attached with foam adhesive and then stapled with the red ribbon. Here, I just kind of looped the first star around this, which is mounted with foam adhesive, and you can see the cutting work there. Then I looped this twine around the first star above it, and then again, a loop of ribbon to house the block. Love these pages. They're just so festive and sweet, perfect for our first birthday. I'm gonna do the slide again. Slide 1 black and then slide 1 white linen. You're going back in time now in your instructions to page 4. Look at the bottom for layout 3 and 4. Sometimes it's confusing, like if you empty the wrong pocket or if you're looking at the wrong picture, it's like, what is going on here? So double check to make sure you've emptied the correct pocket and you're looking at the right picture. Okay, on the right side of this, we'll place our, let's see, the largest one rather. The largest block piece goes on the left and the smallest goes on the right. I'm choosing to do red on the bottom, but there's no rule here. Then you should have 2 blue strips. So those are gonna go right next to where we started here. and then you can cover them with the skinny dots, one on each side. Okay, then let's see, how about 2 red, I'm grabbing all 3 of them. 2 of them are going to be tilted at the top here, and then 1 will be horizontal at the bottom. Now for this strip that has the balloons and the candles, you can go ahead and cut the V into the bottom if you like. That's going to go here. And on the right, you'll take that really wide aqua strip, and it should nest with this. And you can do the same thing. You remove the little V shape there. Let's see if these are all the same size. No. The larger of the 2 blue, vertically down at the bottom here. And then you'll have the squares. You have 3 squares, okay? 2 of them will be tilted at top, and 1 of them is going to hold, if you were a crayon, you'd be my favorite color. You do have all of this fussy cutting. This is completely optional. Like, let's just say you're like under a deadline and you got to get this done. Don't mess around with this stuff, okay? Just don't worry about it. Set it aside or don't use it or whatever. If you have a little bit of time, you want to kick it up a notch, then trim out those little pieces, and I'll show you how they're used here. This is the page on the right. It does have that little crayon thing. You could probably take that red scrap and add it to that, like I thought I'd had, and tied it with some yellow twine. Then here I superimpose, like this is where we started, okay? This is what it was. I took this balloon from the fussy cut sheet is the same size as the printed one, which is super cool. So I just attached both of these, this red balloon and the white and the blue balloon, like so, with foam adhesive. Then, after it was attached, I tied a little knot in the end of the twine, and I took bookbinding glue and just squiggled some down the page, and then I put the twine on top and trimmed it off. Did the same thing here. I didn't want the twine moving all over the place. So that's the story there. On the facing page, I just offset the candles. Again, they're the same size. I offset them a little bit this time and added them with foam adhesive. I had to cut it into pretty little strips, and I did the same effect with the twine here and added my entire heart-shaped block. Now I'm going to slide this on over. Please pardon my Band-Aid. I actually got a paper cut. It was nasty. It just happened before I started filming. I'm like, oh no, how did that happen? It's a hazard of working here at Club Scrap, that's for sure. Okay, make sure you get everything out of the final pocket. I'm looking at my filming time here, and I'm clipping along at a pretty good rate, I confess. If you're new to this, I'm probably going way too fast. Just, you know, let me encourage you to just keep making these pages with me, and pretty soon it'll feel like, you know, hurry up, Trish. I don't need to hear about that again. I already know how all that works. I promise, okay? It'll just get easier with a little bit of practice. Underneath layout 1, we had this piece, and that's just going to go on the left here, about a quarter of an inch from the left edge. And let's see, we have a really wide border that's going to go across this way, maybe an inch from the top. I reserve the right to adjust it. Then I have an aqua photo mat that might nest really well with 1 yellow. Let's see, I'm looking for a bunch of aqua rectangles. There they are. Let's get this right side going. These are squares actually, and they're 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. What's cool about that measurement is that they'll line up really nice in a row across the page. And next to it, you can add this, got a lot of action going on here. Blue horizontal up at the top, and then 2 tilted yellow here. The yellow will go into the border strip. Okay. Now, across the bottom here, I'm going to have my little flag border, and I'm going to place the blue in that white space, still on top of the border. This other aqua here. Oh, and look, it's a skinny yellow piece. We'll do our usual move here around those corners. I'm doing on the 1/4 inch setting. Slide this into your pocket. And then you can top it with your journaling prompt with the crayons. And that'll lay on its side down here. The cupcake can be added after it's fussy cut here with some foam adhesive. And then this will give you a spot for your cupcake. Adorable. So here we have our final page. The only thing added here was the little cupcake with the twine on top and on the facing. And final page, we have our stapled ribbon on the journaling tag here. And then I used the slot punch to add the blue. The slot punch is optional. It just creates a nice little oval opening. Really works great for ribbon. And yeah, foam adhesive on that, and that's it. Again, for those little strips, I like to use my bookbinding glue from the needle tip applicator to finish that up. Now, let me just give you a quick piece of advice. If you're not going to finish these layouts right now, what I recommend you do is just bring this one over to the stack. You know, add, you know, layer, you know, pile whatever you're not currently having placed right in the front of the pile. And then take the instructions and put them back to the title. Then you'll know what's inside your bag. Okay, then you'll reinsert this into the bag, and I can even show you a little trick for that. You've got these bags. Your adhesive is already off the bag, so I'm gonna do it like yours. Let me show you how you can use, if I can get it. Maybe I'm on the wrong side. Ah, I was on the wrong side. I'll show you how you can use this bag to help you reload the project. Now, set this aside, and I've got my clear table here, and I'm gonna hold the bag with the opening at the top, but I'm gonna face the adhesive away from me, and then set the bag down at midpoint at my tabletop here. So I'm adhering it, the lip of the bag, to the table. Then you flip, you know, so it's the stick and flip. And then I can take this entire stack of all my prepped goods here and have this ready for the next time I'm invited to a crop. All my thinking work, all of my concentration is over, and the only thing left to do then is just enjoy time chatting with my friends while I grab my adhesive, maybe my scissors, some tape, the bookbinding glue, and a brick of photos. And I don't have to bring everything in the house to the crop. All I need are my bags of prep layouts, and I'm gonna amaze my friends by how productive I am with my Kids Rule Remix page kit. Yay! Okay, so did you like this? I hope you did. I hope you made it to the end with me here, and that you enjoyed this collection. So what I need you to do now is just hit that like button. Tell me if you liked it. I'd love to hear from you. And also make sure you subscribe to Club Scrap's YouTube channel so you don't miss any new kit announcements or new workshops. And then also think about subscribing to Club Scrap as a member if you're not already. We'd love to welcome you to the Club Scrap family. We're a really positive, fun bunch, and we're all working with the same materials each month. So it's really neat to see what all of you do with them. Join our Facebook chat group. We have a lot of fun over there as well. I look forward to seeing you again in another Club Scrap workshop. Thanks again for joining me.